Some PC 290 laws do not indicate or restrict behavior or conduct. So, meaning it doesn't tell them where they can live, where they can't live, if they have to stay within a certain amount of yards from a school, or those kind of things. Those are all ordered by probation and patrol or parole as conditions to their sentence. So when they're sentenced, the courts on that the specific crime that they're being charged with. So not all PC 290 registrants are required to live so far away from the school. Some can live right next to it. Some can even work at them. It just depends on what their conditions are when they were sentenced. So, like I said, a Penal Code 290 registrant who is not on probation or parole, why do I keep saying patrol? I missed this today because I didn't work it. Has no limits to where they may live, what they may have, computers, electronic devices, so forth, or with whom they may associate with. Last slide, I believe, on this. Sex registrants are classified into different tier systems. Tier 1, they're required to register for 10 years. Tier 2, 20 years. And Tier 3 are required to register for life. Again, those are all determined based on the type of crime and whatever type of sentence they came up with, their attorneys came up with for plea deals and things like that. Once the term has been completed, they don't automatically get off the system. They're required to petition the courts to be removed as a PC 290 resident or their status. If you guys have more information on 290 stuff, I don't know a whole lot. My partner who does all this for a majority of her time knows all this and gave it to me, but vegaslaw.ca.gov is a great website to go to get resources, and from that website you can branch off to other websites that will give you information and databases and things like that. Moving right along. Internet Crimes Against Children, ICAC for short. This unit consists of one detective who primarily investigates the following crimes. Tips that come in from anonymous sources on various different sites that involve children, and the transmission of child sexual assault material via the internet. So he proactively works those cases, and that's all he does. He is very specially trained in it, goes to a lot of classes, and has those. They're very difficult to work. They're very hard to deal with, but he's very good at it, and he puts a lot of people behind bars for it. Unfortunately, it's out there. Any questions so far? All right. So my unit, missing and unidentified persons unit, consists of me, and I deal with all runaway juveniles, missing juveniles, missing adults, unidentified human remains, and child abductions, whether they be stranger or parental abductions.
Hello.
We have a lot of some missing juveniles are more long-term missing. We have missing adults that either go missing because of their mental capacity, their age. Maybe some of them are suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's, and they get lost, they get confused. Or they're just voluntary. They just don't want to be found. Like Amy was talking about. That girl just wanted to move on with life and start her life all over again, and I have a few of those cases.
So typically, how long is it by the time somebody reports you missing when you are starting going off?
So it depends on the circumstances behind the missing person. So typically, patrol goes out and handles all our missing person reports that come in through dispatch. And then if it's something suspicious, like there's just something odd, like this person didn't just voluntarily walk away, had an argument with their spouse, so they left. And we'll be notified. The commander will usually be notified. Then it goes down to Sergeant Friesen, and they'll determine whether we need to go out right now to the scene and start actively working it, or if it's something we can work, when we come in. But we work them pretty quickly. Usually, in my opinion, the quicker we get them and that we get notified of them, we can usually find them quicker.
I'm just going to ask them, I think there's a misunderstanding too that if someone goes missing, that we wait 48 hours and then we'll go out to investigate.
Yeah.
That's a complete misunderstanding. That's like a TV thing. reality is, if a family member calls and there is something critical about why this person's missing and there's something out of the ordinary, we're going to jump on that right away. An officer's going to go out there, TSO's going to go out there and take the initial information. And then just like you said, it's going to get disseminated up to, whoever's in charge of the bureau to then decide whether we need to detect it out now, tonight, or if we can wait till the morning. So a lot of those are just, case by case.
Yeah.
And some even simpler, but times it's
Quit
people
posting
call
stuff like
911,
that.
Something like that. That walk away from a home in the middle of the night or even in the day, and then the family think they're gone. That's why a lot of people now have kind of trackers on their family members that have them. If that gets a call, family member or Alzheimer's that walked away from the house and has to return, the control with everybody available is try and look out through the general area where they walk and go through and hopefully find them in a short amount of time. But sometimes they get on the bus and go to another city. Sometimes it gets really hard even what.
Yep. The longer they're gone, the harder it is because the farther they get sometimes. If we get rolled out for something that patrols work in a missing person, we can utilize, bloodhounds, scent tracking dogs. We utilize our allied partners all the time. We don't have a bloodhound. Our dog will track, but he's primarily more of a explosive and bomb sniffing dog. But San Bernardino Sheriff's Department has several bloodhounds that I use for the Menard case. But we use them all the time for elderly walkaways, dementia, kids, things like that. They're pretty successful. Those dogs are pretty awesome at what they do. So in the unidentified case, we don't ever see this too often. One current case I'm working right now, the case began on October 21st of last year when we received a call reference human remains that were found in the field on the northeast corner of Tennessee Street and Laconia Avenue here in town, right across from Home Depot. The remains were found to belong to a female adult, approximately 42 to 46 years of age. There was good STR DNA. I don't know what STR stands for. I'm not a DNA guy, but it's good. It was a good DNA profile. So we have an excellent DNA profile on this girl. Was obtained from some flesh that were on the remains. We've uploaded those into the nationwide DNA database, so it can be compared to other DNA that's in the database. Unfortunately, we have no hits. We don't know who she is. We have her DNA. The reality is we can only compare DNA to people who have provided DNA. And not necessarily just her, but maybe her parents. So if a family member reports a child or a loved one missing and they provide DNA samples, we'll upload those into their DNA profiles into the missing person system. So when we find things like this and we get DNA off unidentified remains, it automatically will tell us that this person is related to these people. So unfortunately, where it stands right now, we have no familial DNA on file for her. We put out a social media release. We got a lot of tips, a lot of good information. Unfortunately, we were able to pretty much locate every single person that came into us as a tip, as a possible person. So with that being said, we started a kinship search, which compares DNA provided by people that have been arrested for felony crimes to see if either her mother or father has ever been arrested for a felony and were ordered to turn over their DNA. So that takes about 6 months. So that's in the process right now. I was talking to Rick. The other thing we can do are, it's called like a genealogy workup on them. So it's like the 23andMe, like this company will come and create like a family tree based on her DNA and work backwards, but it's very expensive. And unfortunately, because she's an adult, there's no free money to do this. So we're working on her still, but another issue we had is the remains were spread all over the large fields, and some still have not been found. I'd say we found about how much of her?
I believe we're still missing portion of the left arm.
We're missing her mandible.
Rib.
Yeah. Yeah, we got most of her. It's unfortunately when animals get to it, they end up everywhere. So that was part of our issue. We don't have the lower mandible, so we don't have her lower teeth because we can compare dental records. And that's what I was using for a lot of the tips that were coming in. I would go find the dentists that these people would use and then request records for this patient and then send them to an odontologist who does forensic work, and they would compare them and help us determine whether it is or isn't her.
You have to have a lower.
We don't have to do it. We don't have to. Unfortunately, there was only like 3 teeth left on the upper, so there wasn't a whole lot to compare to. So if these people didn't see a dentist, that's another thing that, we run into. Other issues is we don't know if they ever went to the dentist or who their dentist is. And dental records are not kept like medical records are. So that's another issue.
Would you use the cadaver dog?
Yeah, there was a cadaver dog out there which helped us find a lot of the spread out.
Yeah, we searched the larger, we basically canvassed, did a grid search to try to find it to be.
Yeah.
The few pieces that we found, the dogs were able to pick up on tiny little pieces. So, but unfortunately, there's a lot of construction going on over there, so that ground's getting filled up big time, especially that vendor.
We'll probably never recover a lot of it, unless, usually a lot of these things in the fields will be recovered by construction workers who are out there in the fields, grading or whatever, and then they find stuff. So this is some of the stuff that my unidentified female was wearing. That's the tank top right there in the middle. I have my cool little blazer right there. That tank top, we were able to identify the logo on it and put that out on social media to try to see if family members recognize that as a shirt that, someone would wear, their loved one would wear. This is a Citrus Valley soccer sweater. And then she also had a catheter, which was pretty unique. And we were hoping we would get more leads with that. But we didn't. And unfortunately, this catheter is used thousands of times a year on patients. It's a very common one, and it has no serial number on it. So we're not able to trace it back to what company made it and which hospitals they supplied it to. And then this is all the dental we have on her. So if we didn't find dental records to a living doe or her actual records from a dentist that had those teeth, then our comparisons wouldn't work. So we're very limited on which teeth. And the female that we actually thought it was going to be had that exact tooth x-rayed several years ago, and we were able to determine it wasn't her by that one tooth. We just happened to be lucky that it was that same tooth. So we're still looking for her. We're still looking for leads. It's just, hopefully the kinship search will provide some leads for us. A lot of the public talked about, looking up the manufacturer of the clothes and things. The problem is that, clothes are sold everywhere. And she is believed to be unhoused, just based on some of the teeth and stuff like that. And usually unhoused people get a lot of their clothes from Goodwill and secondhand stores. So, where they purchase this stuff is probably not the original owners.
And then if you cross-reference with missing persons, how far do you search?
Nationwide. Yeah. If they're reported anywhere in the country, then they'll come up. Even if they're out of country in several other countries. I have a case where I have a guy that's in South Africa that's gone missing, and he left here kind of unexpectedly from family, left his house, his cars, everything behind, and just disappeared. And he had been in South Africa before. We believe he got in trouble in South Africa, but nobody can find him. So I've been working with the consulate out there, which is hard because time zone differences. So every time I have a question, I email him, and then I have to wait a day to get an answer. And then I answer, it's literally one day for each question. But because I'm working with them, they've been able to put a missing person alert on him. So if he's hit out there, then we'll be notified if he's located out there. So this is where our unidentified females' remains were found. This is just an overview of you see these little tags right here? This is where parts of her body were found. I know it looks close, but it's a very wide area. I'll talk about it in a little bit, and you'll learn about it, I think, next week. The Leica system is a tool that we use to pretty much gather the scene in a 3D view so that we can rewalk the scene later on for investigative purposes and to document for later down the road for court purposes what the scene actually looked like. It allows like the jury to walk through the scene. But these red dots pretty much indicate where the scanner was, and then each green line just the scanner's linking the photos together to create a 3D image. But that's what the fields look like. Crime analysis. I can't talk enough great things about Amy. Anybody you talk to in our department would tell you that she's awesome. We needed probably 50 more of her to really get all of our work done. She's stretched in so many different areas, it's insane. But without her, the Detective Bureau just wouldn't work as well as it does, and we wouldn't produce the results that we do without her. She gave you a good overview. Forensics, I'm not even going to mess it up, so I'm going to let them talk about them, because they'll be mad at me if I mess it up. But I'll talk about the digital forensic specialist. Like I was talking about, he does cell phones, computers, hard drives. Part of the Menard case, we recovered a hard drive that had been destroyed, and he's working with these other agencies that specialize in rebuilding destroyed electronic hard drives and drives to try to pull data off of it. It's crazy what they can do. Property and evidence. So this unit consists of the one property and evidence technician, and she maintains the property and evidence room, which contains about 11,000 items. Processes approximately 200 to 300 pieces of evidence each month, and conducts audits on the evidence that is set to expire. She's in charge of all of our evidence. When evidence is set to expire, she'll notify the officer that originally booked the evidence in, and we'll then look to make sure the case has been adjudicated in court and it's not still pending. Or if it has been finished in court, typically the district attorney's office will tell us how long we have to hold the evidence. So for life cases, we have to hold it for life. Certain cases, we can destroy after 2 years, 3 years. It all just depends on the case. But she's in charge of all that. Some investigative tools that we use, obviously various computer databases such as Carfax, Crime Tracer, LexisNexis. So Carfax, real quick, just type in a VIN or a plate and it'll give us information on where cars were serviced, where oil changes were done, those type of things, because that helps figure out who really owns the car, who's caring for the car, and go back to that oil company and say, who, see their invoice to get, the name and phone number of who drives that car. That's a lead for us because it can put somebody in the driver's seat of that car. Because typically, most of our bad guys don't drive cars that are registered to them. So that's a great tool for us. Crime Tracer and LexisNexis are databases that hundreds and thousands of law enforcement agencies dump their information into so that we can share it. So I can search up a license plate and see what other agencies have dealt with that plate and what type of call it was, traffic stop, whatever the case may be. It helps us build cases with people. It helps us identify where suspects are being found. Because, again, I know this is a surprise because they don't usually use their good address when they're registering, reporting, or getting arrested. We usually have to go find them. So those are different databases that are very helpful for us. Open source search databases, same thing, Yahoo, Google. We use Google all the time, Yahoo, to do searches. People put their lives on social media, and that's a great place to figure out who their friends are, cars they drive, tattoos they have. I mean, they put everything on social media, right? Well, if it's out there for everybody, it's out there for us too. And those are great investigative leads for us. We're trying to put together a gang case or something. It can show, their history of, gangs, the type of stuff they're doing, the people they're hanging out with. You can tie people together as acquaintances. If you've got more than one person in a crime, you can go on their social media and see who they hang out with. That's usually a good lead for us too. Start finding their friends. Spillman, our in-house computer-aided dispatch system. That's what all our patrol officers use. But it's a database that consists of everything that Redlands Police Department. We utilize drones. I think we have 4 operators. They're eyes in the sky. Instead of having to use the sheriff's helicopter, everybody knows what the police helicopter looks like when they're out. We can fly inside the house. It's all of us safe and from having to go face to face with the threat. It also helps us provide intel when we do search warrants. We can get a layout of what the property looks like, how many sheds there are, where there's doors, where there's windows, things of that nature. They'll talk about the drones and Leica scanner next week, a little bit more. But the Leica scanner, again, it creates a 3D image. You can walk the Leica scanner through here and literally allow you to walk through the entire building from the computer. It's excellent when it comes to homicide scenes, fatal traffic collision scenes. We document it, and there's nothing better than the real life images, like trying to be, being there and seeing where the evidence is and stuff like that. Now I gotta suck it in more. Alright, okay. So that's the Leica scanner. ALPR systems, one of my favorite things. When I was early on in my career, it was just something that I got attached to and I started using all the time and became really good at. Vigilant cameras and flock. Those are automated license plate reader, I guess I should say that first. But for fixed cameras throughout the city, they capture license plates. That's all they do. They don't capture video. They don't have people. They just capture license plates. And it's compared to stolen vehicle systems, databases, and stuff like that. So if a stolen car drives by a automated license plate reader, it will alert our officers and our dispatch that a stolen car just drove through Texas and Livonia, and it's going east. So officers in that area can go look for that car. It'll also show you an image of the car so that we know what car we're looking for. In the Bureau, we utilize it to try to locate suspects. If we know the plate of the suspect, we can flag it so that patrol's driving around and that car drives through a license plate reader. It'll alert them, hey, the detectives are looking for this car, stop it, and then they'll call us and we can, work our case further. It's also used if you don't have a license plate. For example, that traffic collision that happened on Alabama that killed a young female 3 days ago. We have license plate reader cameras that have really, it was a sedan, not an SUV, but we didn't have a license plate. The car was going at a high rate of speed, so it was hard to even make out a make or model or any type of oddities on the car that makes it stand out. But utilizing license plates, we could type in white four-door sedan, and it'll tell us every white four-door to be narrowed down by time. So on this date, between this time and this time, I want every white car that drove through that camera. And then start working with those leads. May not be anything, but they're all leads for us, and as detectives, that's what we do. We just chase leads all day and work leads and try to build one lead from another lead.
The camera can still get the plate no matter how fast the car goes.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy how accurate it is. But yes, day or night, no matter if it's pitch black outside, the cameras have like an infrared that helps the lens read the license plates. Residential burglary detectives use that all the time for telling us what cars were in the area at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. when car burglaries were happening. And it may not be the suspects, but it at least tells us who was in that area at that time. You can run the plate and tell it, I want to know every place this car has been in the last 90 days. So we can start looking at patterns, where these cars are staying, where are you going. You can usually tell when someone's going to work and coming home. Because around 8 a.m., they're always at this intersection. At 5, they're always at this one. So if we're looking for them, we know where to go and be at a certain time. Yes, sir.
So that was a big advance when dealerships required to take plates off.
Yeah. That was a huge struggle for us because bad guys, I know, it's hard to believe they don't follow the law, but they would always use paper plates on their car. They'd always put a dealer plate. And on patrol, like we've all been on patrol before, you saw a car that wasn't just bought on a dealership and had a paper plate, there's a reason why that plate's on that car. So you stop that car, and it was usually something good. They're hiding their identity for some reason. But now that there's there's dealer plates, The license plate readers will read it as well, and we have access to the DMV database that will give us the same information on those temporary plates.
It's not displaying front plates, is that the differences that is California vehicle code?
It is a California vehicle code. It's an infraction that's just a fix-it ticket, and it will require you to put the plate on the front of the car. But these cameras are built to capture the rear plate of cars. So if you notice on if you ever notice them, I'll show you a picture of them. They're always facing the same direction the car's going, because we want to capture the back. We know that the plate's always supposed to be on the back. And when it's not, usually that means it's our right car that we're looking for.
Most that for driver.
Yeah, with no front plate. So Vigilant cameras, Vigilant and Flock are just two different companies that have cameras. They're two different systems. They're owned by two different companies. They're competitors, but we have 13 fixed Vigilant cameras, and those typically you'll see on the traffic light boom poles. And then the Flock cameras, we have 55 that are city-owned. We have 16 business-owned cameras that we have, that the businesses at Lowe's and Home Depot. Those are all private-owned, so they don't have